Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome, welcome to our wonderful Sri Radhashtami festival at Sri Radharatna Temple 2021. We had a really ecstatic festival so far today. We've had hundreds of devotees visiting the temple, taking darshan of deities in their three new outfits. There's been kirtan, abhishek, and an amazing offering of over 50 beautifully decorated cakes made by our devotees. And most importantly, we've hosted 5 classes so far today. This evening, we are very excited and inspired and fortunate to welcome to Sri Radharatna Temple His Holiness Giriraja Swami, the Giriraja Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Of course, we all know Maharaj is one of Srila Prabhupada's most senior disciples, recognized all over the world for his many sacrifices in service to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj earlier this year experienced a wonderful milestone in his ongoing fulfillment of his main service to Srila Prabhupada to write. Maharaj published the long-awaited book recounting the amazing history of struggle and sacrifice by Srila Prabhupada and his followers to establish the temple in Juhu, Bombay. The book is called I'll Build You a Temple, and it's available at all our ISKCON centers in South Africa, and it's a must-read for all of Srila Prabhupada's followers. Maharaj, thank you so much for your time and association this evening. We really feel very fortunate to have you with us today. We'd like to, at the same time, request all the devotees to please, as far as possible, turn on your cameras just to create a more personal experience for everyone. And of course, Maharaj will be very pleased with that. And also, if you can stay on mute. Maharaj, would you be taking questions later at the end of the class?
Yes.
Okay. So wonderful. Thank you so much, Maharaj. And then, yes, when it's time for questions, you can raise your hand and we can offer the questions to Maharaj. And those of you who don't want to, you could possibly write it into the chat box. Thank you very much for attending, dear devotees, and thank you so much, Maharaj. I'll hand over to you now, Maharaj. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I will begin by singing the Mangalacharana prayers and leading a short kirtan. And then I will speak about Srimati Radharani from Srimad Bhagavatam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Sagana Shri Radha Krishna Padam Samagana Lalita Krishna Prasthaya Srimate Bhakti Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasavi Vishnupada Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Svarga Satasri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Radhashtami Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai. Srimati Radharani Ki Jai. So I will I'll go for a minute and I will be back and then we will speak about
অশোক বৃক্ষ বল্লরী বিতান মণ্ডপস্থিতে প্রবাল বাল পল্লব প্রভারুণাঘ্রি কোমলে অশোক বৃক্ষ বল্লরী বিতান মণ্ডপস্থিতে প্রবাল বাল পল্লব প্রভারুণাঘ্রি কোমলে
Hare Krishna. So I will read a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, Pure Devotional Service, Text 23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jivan Chavo Bhagavatam Rirenum na jatu martyo bilabeta yastu Shri Vishnu Padya Manujastu Lasya Swasanchavoyas Tunaveda Gandam Jivanchavo Bhagavatang Grirenum Najatu Martyo Bilabeta Yastu Shri Vishnu Padya Manujastu Lasya Swasanchavoyas Tunaveda Jivan, while living. Sava, a dead body. Bhagavat Angri Renum, the dust of the feet of a pure devotee. Na, never. Jatu, at any time. Martya, mortal. Abhilabeta, particularly received. Ya, a person. Tu, but. Shri, with opulence. Vishnu Padya, of the lotus feet of Vishnu. Manuja, a descendant of Manu, a man. Tulasya, leaves of the tulsi tree. Swasan, while breathing. Shava, still a dead body. Ya, who. Tu, but. Naveda, never experienced. Gundam, the aroma. Translation. The person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body. And the person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the breathing dead body is a ghost. When a man dies, he is called dead. But when he again appears in a subtle form, not visible to our present vision, and yet acts, such a dead body is called a ghost. Ghosts are always very bad elements, always creating a fearful situation for others. Similarly, the ghost-like non-devotees who have no respect for the pure devotees, nor for the Vishnu deity in the temples, create a fearful situation for the devotees at all times. The Lord never accepts any offerings by such impure ghosts. There is a common saying that one should first love the dog of the beloved before one shows any loving sentiments for the beloved. The stage of pure devotion is attained by sincerely serving a pure devotee of the Lord. The first condition of devotional service to the Lord is therefore to become a servant of a pure devotee. And this condition is fulfilled by the statement, quote, reception of the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee, who has also served another pure devotee, end quotation. That is the way of pure disciplic succession or devotional parampara. Maharaj Rahugana inquired from the great saint Jad Bharat as to how he had attained such a liberated stage of a paramahamsa. And in answer, the great saint replied as follows, Srimad Bhagavatam 5:12:12. Rahuganaitat tapasanayati nache jayanir vapanar grihadva na chandasanaiva jalagni suryayar vina mahatpadarajo bhishekam. O King Rahugana, the perfectional stage of devotional service, or the Paramahansa stage of life, cannot be attained unless one is blessed by the dust of the feet of great devotees. It is never attained by tapasya, austerity, the Vedic worshipping process, acceptance of the renounced order of life, the discharge of the duties of household life, the chanting of the Vedic hymns, or the performance of penance in the hot sun, within cold water, or before the blazing fire. In other words, Lord Sri Krishna is the property of his pure, unconditional devotees. And as such, only the devotees can deliver Krishna to another devotee. Krishna is never obtainable directly. Lord Chaitanya therefore designated himself as Gopi Bhartu Padakamalyor Dasa Dasanudasa, or the most obedient servant of the servants of the Lord, who maintains the Gopi damsels at Vrindavan. A pure devotee therefore never approaches the Lord directly, but tries to please the servant of the Lord's servants. And thus the Lord becomes pleased, and only then can the devotee relish the taste of the tulsi leaves stuck to his lotus feet. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord is never to be found by becoming a great scholar of the Vedic literatures, but he is very easily approachable through his pure devotee. Yes, Vedeshu Durlabham, Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. In Vrindavan, all the pure devotees pray for the mercy of Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. Srimati Radharani is a tender-hearted feminine counterpart of the Supreme Whole, resembling the perfectional stage of the worldly feminine nature. Therefore, the mercy of Radharani is available very readily to the sincere devotees. And once she recommends such a devotee to Lord Krishna, the Lord at once accepts the devotee's admittance into his association. The conclusion is, therefore, that one should be more serious about seeking the mercy of the devotee than that of the Lord directly. And by one's doing so, by the goodwill of the devotee, the natural attraction for the service of the Lord will be revived. Hare Krishna. So the goal of every devotee is to serve Krishna and please him. Ultimately, in the line of service or in the mood of service, to gain admittance into the Lord's personal association to serve him. Now, in order to achieve the Lord's mercy, we must first receive the mercy of the Lord's devotee. We sing every morning, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, that by the mercy of the spiritual master, one can attain the mercy of Krishna. And yasya prasada nagati kutopi. And without the mercy of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. One has no means for advancement, or one has no standing in devotional service. There is another verse that seems to run parallel to the verse quoted. Vina Radha Prasadena Mat Prasado Navidyate. This verse is spoken by Lord Krishna in the Brahmanda Purana. Vina, without. Radha Prasadena, the mercy of Radharani. Mat Prasada, my mercy, Krishna's mercy. Navidyate, no one can achieve. So the parallel between these two statements, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado and Vina Radha Prasadena, suggests a connection between getting the mercy of the spiritual master and thus the mercy of Krishna, and getting the mercy of Srimati Radharani and thus the mercy of Krishna. The connection is parampara. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that one can achieve the liberated position of a mahat, or great soul, only by serving another mahat, or great soul. The Bhagavad Gita says, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritima shritaha. The great souls have taken shelter or are under the protection of the divine energy. Daivim prakritim, which means Srimati Radharani. So by taking shelter of a great soul, who has taken shelter of another great soul, who has taken shelter of another great soul, ultimately, who are under the protection of the Daivim Prakriti, or Srimati Radharani. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says that the spiritual master is seen either as a manifestation of Lord Nityananda, his mercy, or a confidential servant of Srimati Radharani. This connection with a great soul who's connected to Srimati Radharani is what will establish our connection with Krishna. There are so many verses, both positive and negative. Positive, yasya prasada. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one gets the mercy of Krishna. And negative, yasya prasada, without his mercy, nagati kutopi. One has no means of success. In this verse quoted by Srila Prabhupada, Vina Mahat Pada Rajo Bhishekam. Bhishekam refers to Abhishek, a bathing ceremony. So the verse is actually saying that without bathing oneself in the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotee, one cannot achieve a liberated position of a pure devotee. So there are positive injunctions and negative prohibitions. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. By the mercy of the pure devotee, one gets the mercy of Krishna. Without the mercy of the pure devotee, one cannot get the mercy of Krishna. The best devotee is Srimati Radharani. In our parampara, we serve our guru, and he serves his guru, and he serves his guru, and it goes all the way back to Srimati Radharani. As Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, Krishna is the property of his pure devotee, and the pure devotee has the ability to give Krishna to us if we are sincere and eager enough. And that eagerness comes from the mood of separation. Or the mood of separation is the other side of eagerness. That if you are eager to serve Krishna, to serve Radha and Krishna, but are not able, we feel separation. We lament in separation. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and actually beginning before him, Srila Madhavendra Puri, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his immediate followers, the six Goswamis and other associates, all demonstrated that that mood of separation in the worship of Krishna. And we can feel that mood of separation only when we have some attachment to Krishna. And that attachment develops by hearing about Krishna or reading. We can become attracted. For example, Princess Rukmini had never met Krishna. But when Narada Muni or other great sages and saintly persons used to visit the royal palace, she would hear them talk about the glories of Krishna, the dealings of Krishna, the prowess of Krishna. And just by hearing about Krishna, her natural, eternal, dormant love for Krishna awakened. Now, of course, Srimati Rukmini Devi is an eternal consort of Krishna in Dwarka. So it was natural that her love for Krishna would be awakened by hearing about him. But each one of us has an eternal relationship with Krishna. And therefore, it is just as natural for every one of us to have our dormant love for Krishna awakened by hearing about him. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai. Love for Krishna is established eternally within the heart. It is not something to be gotten from another source, but our consciousness has to be purified, Suddha Chitte, by the association of pure devotees, and Karya Uday, then that dormant love naturally awakens. So there has to be some connection and desire for association in order for us to feel separation. When we know someone personally, we can feel separation. For example, we met Srila Prabhupada, we saw him, we spoke with him, we followed him, and so we can feel separation from him. But even those who have never met him personally can feel separation by hearing about him and serving him. In the case of Krishna, as analyzed by our acharyas, Srila Rupa Goswami and others, there are different categories of separation. One type of separation occurs when there's a physical distance between the devotee and Krishna, and that can be a big distance or a small distance. Or one can feel separation when one is away from Krishna for a long time or for a short time. There are different categories. But one category is called purva rag. That is the attachment the devotee feels for Krishna before meeting him. When we go to the spiritual world, when that fortunate day comes, we will take birth. This is explained by Srila Sanatana Goswami and other acharyas and shastras, that when the perfected living entity leaves his body, he doesn't go directly to Goloka Vrindavan to associate in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual sky, but he first takes birth on the planet within the material world where Krishna is manifesting his pastimes. So he will take birth from a gopi in Boma Vrindavan, in Vrindavan on earth. And in Boma Vrindavan, he or she, depending on what form, will hear about Krishna. And by hearing about Krishna before meeting him, one will develop an attraction for him and yearn for the opportunity to actually meet him and serve him in person. The eternal associates of Krishna, and this is a very important and encouraging point, my dear devotees. The eternal associates of Krishna are always roaming about Vrindavan looking for new candidates to serve Krishna. They are not trying to keep Krishna to themselves and keep us away. Sometimes it happens, perhaps not in South Africa, but in India, we had the experience, especially on Radhashtami or Janmashtami. One devotee will say, I want to do the garland. No, you get out of the way. I want to do the garland. I want to address the deities. No, you get out of the way. I want to address the deities. So it is not like that. Everyone is thinking how to welcome more people into the service of Krishna because everyone wants to increase Krishna's pleasure. And Krishna is pleased by devotion, by service offered with love and devotion by devotees. So they always want to encourage more devotees to come closer to Krishna and offer their loving service to him. There's a beautiful verse about Srimati Lalita Devi, that she is always roaming about Vrindavan looking for prospective gopis who she can bring into the service of Krishna. So they are roaming about and they'll find someone. Oh, this young girl has taken birth. Let us tell her about Krishna. And by hearing about Krishna, very quickly that attraction develops. For us to develop attraction may take time because our love for Krishna is covered more. But there we have already taken birth because we wanted to serve Krishna. But we just need further association and training. So we take birth and we hear about Krishna, and very quickly, hearing the description of Krishna spoken with such love from Lalita Devi or different gopis, Rupa Manjari, Rati Manjari, we develop that desire to meet Krishna and serve him. And that creates a feeling of separation. because it is not that easy. You are there in Vrindavan with Krishna. Krishna is also present in Vrindavan, but it's not that easy to get close to him. Just to give an example, a rough example, a crude example, as Srila Prabhupada would sometimes say, even with Srila Prabhupada, there weren't that many devotees who were that close to him, that they would regularly meet him and speak with him. Many devotees tell stories of how they didn't see him, or they would just see him at the airport and they would want some little recognition, some glance or one or two words. So they hear about Krishna, but it takes a while before they can actually get a glimpse of him or hear the sound of his flute. And then whatever association they get, it inflames their desire to meet him and serve him. And that creates yearning and the feeling of separation. I know devotees who at a young age heard about Krishna, and their parents were against. I'm sure there are many, many examples, but one was a devotee named Puri Das, who eventually came to Juhu and assisted me there. But he heard about the devotees as a teenager, and he was living with his parents in Scotland, and he really had very little chance to meet them. So he would just sit in his room and cry and wish he could be with the devotees, or he would secretly phone them and get association on the phone. So that eagerness and feelings of separation are very purifying. So there's a parampara in the material world, and even in the spiritual world, we have to be recommended to be admitted into Krishna's association. We have to be recommended. There is a parampara. But ultimately, Srimati Radharani, she holds the key to the gate. So Srila Prabhupada exemplified in a very poignant way this idea that Krishna is the property of his pure devotee, and by the mercy of the pure devotee, the goodwill of the pure devotee, one can get Krishna. One event took place in Madras in 1971 that illustrates this point. Srila Prabhupada had come for about a week, and the Chief Justice of the Madras High Court, Justice Swami, became very attracted to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna consciousness. So much so that he wanted to join the movement and take initiation. He arranged a program for Srila Prabhupada, an outdoor program, to which he invited all the high court judges and advocates and prominent citizens of the city. And they came in good numbers. In the course of Prabhupada's discourse, he quoted the example of the 6 Goswamis, who were very highly placed in society, but who gave up everything to join the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tyakya Turna Mashesha Mandala Pati Shrenim Sadat Tuchabat. So Srila Prabhupada was suggesting that his audience, these highly placed people in society, should also follow the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis and join the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then after the talk, the public program, Srila Prabhupada and the disciples went to Chief Justice Swami's residence for prasad. The Chief Justice offered Srila Prabhupada a beautiful sandalwood garland. And he gave Srila Prabhupada a chadar, and a little silver figurine of Krishna. So Prabhupada sat down on a chair and all the devotees were sitting around him in the Chief Justice's lounge on the floor. And Malati was there with her daughter Saraswati, who was maybe 3 years old. Srila Prabhupada held this little deity of Krishna in front of him, and he engaged with Saraswati and said, "Look, Saraswati, who is this?" "Krishna, it's Krishna." And then he very slowly moved the deity to his side, and then without her seeing it, he hid Krishna behind his back. Then he said, "Saraswati, where is Krishna?" Then she noticed that Krishna was gone. She became so alarmed, so concerned. Where is Krishna? She started looking everywhere. Her eyes were darting all over. She was going up to the devotees and seeing if they had Krishna. She was really disturbed with anxiety for where is Krishna. Then again, 3-year-olds, their attention span is short. So again, Prabhupada said, "Saraswati, where is Krishna?" And again, she was looking, going, checking the devotees, seeing if anyone was holding Krishna or hiding Krishna. Then one of the devotees said, "Saraswati, who has Krishna?" And then, like an awakening dawned in her consciousness, and she said, "Prabhupada has Krishna." So then she rushed up to Prabhupada's seat, and he very slowly brought Krishna from behind his back and held it in front of Saraswati. It perfectly demonstrated the mood of separation of the 6 Goswamis. Hey Radhe Vrajadevi Ke Chalalite He Nanda Suno Kutaha. Hey Radhe, O Radharani, Vrajadevi Ke, Queen of Vrindavan. Hey Nanda Suno Kutaha, O Krishna, son of Nanda, where are you? Are you on the banks of the Yamuna, or are you at Govardhan? Where are you? And they would roam all over Vrindavan, loudly shouting. So this is the mood of separation. And Saraswati really got in the mood of transcendental anxiety to find Krishna. And when her anxiety reached a sufficient pitch, Srila Prabhupada gave her Krishna. Our chanting is supposed to be like the genuine cry of a child for its mother, for Radharani. Mother Hara, please help me in achieving the grace of the Supreme Father, Krishna. His Holiness Niranjan Swami told me a nice story that when he was in the Boston temple, one of the devotees had a young child, maybe 4 years old. The father would do deity service on the altar, and he would hear the child calling for the father, but no big deal. Everyone was used to it. It was no big deal. And then one day the child started to call for the father, and the same thing as usual. But then it got louder and louder and more intense, and finally the child was shouting and then wildly screaming. And when the child was screaming wildly, then everyone took notice and began to rush. Like, what is the matter? And it turned out that the child had locked himself in the bathroom and couldn't get out. So Niranjan Swami was making the point, yes, we chant, we call the names of the Lord. Yes, usual. Everything goes on as usual. Calling for his father, life goes on. But when it was really serious, and he was shouting and screaming and wildly, hysterically screaming, then everyone took notice and then they rushed. So that phrase, the genuine cry of a child for its mother, that's how we have to chant. And when we chant in that mood, Srimati Radharani will come running and she'll call Krishna and he'll come running. Not exactly like that, but in general terms, they will come. They will reciprocate. From the time I heard Srila Prabhupada say a genuine cry of a child for its mother, I always imagined or envisioned a child at a fair or carnival getting lost and crying for its mother. In other words, we are not at home. We are in some foreign place and have turned away from Krishna. We've left our eternal home with Krishna and come into this mad carnival of material existence and are lost. If we are really conscious of what our actual situation is, that we're like a child lost in some carnival or fair, and we are in a very vulnerable condition. One of the reasons a child screams is because it feels helpless, lost and helpless, that anything could happen without the protection of his mother. And that is actually the fact. Because of Maya's influence, we are not always conscious of how vulnerable we actually are. We live in an illusion that everything is okay. Even though we see calamities around us, even though we read about calamities in the newspaper and see it broadcast, we always think it's someone else. It's not going to happen to me. We tend to think that we're okay, we're safe, nothing will happen. But we don't know that. If we were really to recognize how vulnerable we are in this material body, in this material world, and we are like a lost child at a fair, a carnival, or a zoo, we would really be crying out like a child for its mother, because we are lost and are in a very precarious condition without our mother and father's protection. So when we have that mood in our heart and chant in that mood, the Lord reciprocates. Srimati Radharani reciprocates, and all the devotees reciprocate. So there's so much in this verse and purport about which I could speak, but let us just conclude with a little more explanation of and glorification of Srimati Radharani. Today is the most auspicious occasion for us, Srimati Radharani's appearance day. And she is who we are all serving, ultimately. We are all under her protection. Srila Prabhupada explains that she is a Mahabhagavata. Every Mahabhagavata feels that everyone else is serving Krishna except him or her. It is just the nature of the Mahabhagavata. So Srila Prabhupada said, she is a Mahabhagavata. She's actually the Mahabhagavata. So she sees that everyone can serve Krishna better than she does. And so she recommends that devotee to Krishna. Oh, look at this devotee. This devotee is doing such nice service, better than me. You should accept this devotee. And when Srimati Radharani recommends the devotee, Krishna cannot refuse. As they say in Varshana, whatever Radha does, Krishna likes. And whatever Radha likes, Krishna does. So today we are in the Varshana mood. So thank you all very much for inviting me to discuss with you on this most auspicious occasion of Shri Radhashtami. And I think we have some time for questions and answers. And so if you have any questions or reflections, please raise your hand. You can raise your physical hand or your virtual hand, and we will discuss further. Hare Krishna. Shri Radhashtami Mahamahotsav ki jai. Srimati Radharani ki jai.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for that wonderful message and class. I don't see any questions on the chat so far, and
Okay.
I'm not seeing any hands raised yet.
Okay.
Devotees, please, if you have something you'd like to ask or reflect on Maharaj, please take the opportunity now.
There's one hand raised.
Oh, yes. Tumaleng, please go ahead, Tumaleng.
Excuse me, Hare Krishna. So I'm just having a bit of issues. Maharaj, Hare Krishna. I really liked your description of the child crying for their mother. And I'm just curious that today, well, in the material world, feelings of separation, rather than create a sense of longing and this gut-wrenching cry from a child, they actually cause people to be more withdrawn and relying so much on their own strength, because it's just a different experience. In the spiritual world, it creates ecstatic feelings and symptoms, but in material world, it creates a lot of fear and withdrawal. So as devotees, how do we, instead of kind of falling into this fear trap, really reach out to and have this mood of longing and crying and begging, rather than, oh my God, I have to do this on my own because the material world is, ruthless.
Yes. Well, looking for shelter in the material world is not a very hopeful proposition. And so when we do, we're quite likely to be disappointed. And as a result, as you said, we withdraw and feel that we have to depend on our own strength. But when we call out to Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna for help, that is a completely different situation because they will help us. And so we will feel enlivened by their reciprocation and protected by their mercy. So yes, it's very important that we know where to look for shelter, where to cry out for mercy. And if we, cry out to Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna through parampara, we will feel their merciful reciprocation. And if we call out for help in the material world, a good luck, because you may not get any real substantial help in the material world. But thank you for raising that point. It's very, very significant. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Answering that. We have another question from Sri Radha Kripa Kataksha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, accept my humble respects. Thank you so much for your wonderful lecture. I have a question. Sometimes we start to do a service and we feel very enthusiastic, but while doing the service, we tend to get into the mode of passion, and sometimes we mistake doing service in the mode of passion as enthusiasm. How do we stop that, Guru Maharaj? Because I find there's a very fine line between the two. Could you please elaborate on it? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada said that we need enthusiasm and patience. Enthusiasm without patience can lead to a desire to control, which, as you said, is something like the mode of passion. So enthusiasm without patience can lead to a desire to control. And patience without enthusiasm can lead to lethargy, laziness, which is sort of like the mode of ignorance. So we need both patience and enthusiasm. And then, because that enthusiasm is necessary. In the Upadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha, that's the first, Utsaha nischayat daryat, tat karma pravartanat. So Utsaha means enthusiasm. And daryat means patience. So we need both, and then we can sustain our service in a wholesome way. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Your name, Shirada Kripa Kataksha Dasi, is very appropriate for today's event, because we all want Radha Kripa Kataksha, Srimati Radharani's merciful sidelong glance. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. There's a hand raised by Malati Mataji. Take your question now.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your divine grace. Guru Maharaj, this point what you raised about the chanting of the holy names and the cry of a child. Maharaj is like when we chant, it is surely the mercy of Nama Prabhu coming, dancing on our tongue, and our effort also. But then sometimes our efforts are not 100%. We become very comfortable. Every round what we chant, it's not a cry. In between the rounds, we become very comfortable and we forget that we are in the foreign world and not at home. So Maharaj, how to feel that separation for the whole of those 16 rounds? Please guide us, Guru Maharaj.
Well, when it comes to chanting japa, the first requirement is to try to hear each holy name, each syllable. And from there, the other, you could say, benefits or feelings will come. When I first joined in Boston, we followed the practice that Srila Prabhupada had introduced, that we should read the Krishna book at night before we take rest. And I was, decades later, I was facilitating a japa retreat in New Vrindavan. And so when we read the Krishna book at night, then in the morning when we chant, it's sort of natural to remember Krishna. We'll remember what we read from the night before, or it could be other similar books, but as Srila Prabhupada gave us the practice, it was Krishna book. And, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the main requirement in chanting japa is to be attentive. He says that if you chant attentively, then all the other offenses will be destroyed. And if you're inattentive while chanting, negligent while chanting, then all the other offenses will flourish. So the main thing is to be attentive. Yeah. And as Burijan Prabhu says, just chant one mantra at a time, or really one name at a time, because you can't do anything about the mantra that you just chanted. However good or bad it was, you can't do anything about it. And there's no use thinking about the one you're going to chant next, because that's in the future. As Srila Prabhupada says, trust no future, however bright. So just like there was a saying, be here now. So that when it comes to japa, we should be present, And Srila Prabhupada has a very good disciple named Gopal Bhattadas, who's a big businessman. And he makes lists of things that he has to do. Because what sometimes happens while we're chanting is we think of all the things we have to do. It becomes a time to formulate our to-do list. So Gopal Bhatta Prabhu the night before, he makes a real to-do list. So he doesn't have to do that while he's chanting. He does that as a service to his chanting. And he's very organized. It makes sense to do that. So yeah, I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. I would love to share something like when I used to serve Guru Maharaj, and when I used to chant in the morning, I used to be in anxiety what I have to get from the market and what time I have to reach. So I once told Guru Maharaj that these things come when I chant. So he said the same thing, do one thing, just stop your japa, make a list, what you have to do. Then when you restart your chanting, you'll never remember those things because you've already made a list. Then you can go accordingly.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Malati is a disciple of my dear godbrother, His Holiness Sridhar Swami Maharaj. When she said Guru Maharaj, she was referring to him. Gave you perfect advice.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, we have one question from Divya Shakti.
All right.
You can go ahead, Divya Shakti.
We're not hearing her.
We can't hear you, Divya. You are unmuted. We can't hear you. What? Maybe Divya will give you a minute or two to sort your sound issue, and we'll take the question from Yashoda, who's raised the hand now.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the delightful talk. It was very, very lovely to listen to all the sweet nectar, and I really appreciate it. My question is, why do we feel so blissful on Radhashtami on itself? It's the vibration, adrenaline rush. I don't know, maybe because I'm a nurse, it feels like a whole lot of rush is coming through me on this day. So what is so blissful about this day?
Well, it's Radharani's mercy. One disciple asked Srila Prabhupada that on Janmashtami, we have to fast till midnight, and then we can only break our fast with Ekadasi type prasad. Whereas on Radhashtami, we only have to fast until noon, and we can break the fast with full prasad, with grains. So why is that? And Srila Prabhupada replied, because Srimati Radharani is more merciful than Krishna. So, yes, her mercy is flowing on Radhashtami, and you are feeling it. You're feeling it. Right.
Thank you, Maharaj. Divya Shakti, do you want to try again with your question?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. The point you made about the gopis always looking for people to serve Krishna really touched me. And I was just thinking that often when we are regularly involved in a service in the temple or in any sphere, we become attached to that service. I know I'm guilty of this myself. We become attached to that service, and sometimes we even develop a pride regarding or around that service. This is my service and I've been doing it for so many years, or I'm expert at it. How can we use this pride?
Um, yes, as we have heard, the real world is an inverted reflection of the spiritual world. And so whatever exists in the material world also exists in the spiritual world, but in its original pure form. So Srila Prabhupada had a disciple named Pradumya Das, who was Srila Prabhupada's Sanskrit editor, and who was very knowledgeable in Shastra. And shortly after Srila Prabhupada left, I asked him that, we have pride in the material world, but what is the pride in the spiritual world? And Pradumya Prabhu replied that the pride in the spiritual world is that I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, the last in the line. That is my pride. I'm the last in the line. That means I have the most masters. I'm proud because I have the most masters, because I'm the last in the line of servants. So that's a good pride. But as far as, being proud of our service, there's a very wonderful verse in purport, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, I believe, text 12, in which Srila Prabhupada in the purport really explains what our mood of service should be. And he says, everyone should be friendly in the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise the service of others and not condemn it. And no one should be proud of his own service. So I would suggest that you study that purport, because it gives a beautiful explanation of how we should feel about ourselves and the other devotees, and how we should relate amongst ourselves. I can give you, I'm pretty sure I quoted it correctly, but I can just double check.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your wonderful detailed explanation.
Okay. Yes, it's Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.12. 7.5.12. Every devotee should study that purport, because it really explains how we should think of ourselves and think of the other devotees. And just to begin that one section, which I quoted, everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise another's service to the Lord and not be proud of his own service. This is the way of Vaishnava thinking, Vaikuntha thinking. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. We have a question from Nikunja Vasani Mataji. Mataji, would you want to ask Maharaj?
Yes,
No?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'm from New Zealand. I just had a question. Your beautiful reference, the wonderful description from Sanatan Goswami, that we take birth in Krishna's pastime in this material world. I was just wondering where I can find that reference, which I'd never heard of before, and I was thinking that is so beautiful.
Oh, I believe it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita and in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. But yes, that is the system, that we first take birth in the universe where Krishna's having his pastimes, and then we get trained there. We practice and we get trained there, and then we go to Goloka Vrindavan.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Maharaj, we have one more question from Sakshi Lakyani.
Okay.
Sakshi, can you ask your question now?
Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances to your lotus feet. Wishing you a very happy Radhashtami.
Thank you. Same to you.
Guru Maharaj, I wanted to share that I had a very blissful day by your mercy, and I got wonderful darshans of Shri Radha Madan Mohan and Ujjain. And it's all by your mercy that I was really able to appreciate this festival. And so, Guru Maharaj, I really wanted to hear a pastime of Radharani's from you. So, if you could please tell us about her appearance or any pastime, that would be very nice.
Oh,
Sorry, time.
yeah. Well, she was. You could, of course, she didn't, take birth as any ordinary person would, and she was actually discovered by her father, Vrishabhanu Maharaj, in the field. He was plowing the field, and he saw this luminous object, and it was her. And he took her home, and wow, what a thing to find in the field. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, we have another question from Pavitra Bhatt.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Guru Maharaj. Happy Radhashtami.
Thank you. Same to you.
Guru Maharaj, this is a question about chanting.
Yes.
It's more related to the deaf devotees. Some of them, they prefer to see the pictures of Radha and Krishna and do their chanting. Is that acceptable, or because they can't hear, so they prefer to just look at the pictures?
But they do chant, but they can't hear because they're deaf.
Yes, they do chant, but they can't hear.
Yeah, well, I do that. The Hare is Radha, and the Krishna is Krishna, and the Rama is Krishna. So I think when they chant, I do it with a photo of Radha and Krishna, and I also do it with the mantra, the written mantra. And it does help to focus the mind. So when I chant the Hare, I look at the picture of Radha or the word Hare. And then when I say Krishna, I look at the picture of Krishna or the deity of Krishna or the name Krishna on the mantra sign. So that's fine. somehow or other, they should think of Krishna and, always remember Krishna, never forget him. So that's fine.
Because they can't hear and their mind keeps wandering around. They keep complaining about that a lot. And so that was one of the things I said, I think if you look at the pictures, I think that could help. But before I tell them, I wanted to just confirm with you.
Yes, that is a good suggestion. Yes, you can tell them that.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, we have another question from Itumaleng. Itumaleng, go ahead.
Sorry, I just had this question on my mind for the longest time. And when you were speaking about the protection of the Daivi Prakriti, it came up again. I just would really like to understand the principle of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra within that context of Daivi Prakriti, if it applies or falls in within that context at all. But how do we understand it and how to apply it with the right mood, I think.
Yeah, well, Mahatmanas tamam partha daivim prakriti mashrita. So any guru or sadhu will be a Mahatma and will be under the protection of the divine energy, which is ultimately Srimati Radharani. So by taking shelter of guru and sadhu, we are ultimately taking shelter of to the Daivi Prakriti or Srimati Radharani. But I don't think it exactly applies to Shastra, except that well, I mean, I guess you could say Shastra is also under the divine energy, but it's a little different from a devotee being under the divine energy, such as Sadhu and Shastra, such as Sadhu and Guru. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for your wonderful questions. And thank you so much, Maharaj, for obliging us by painstakingly answering every one of the questions. And really your talk and sharing of your thoughts and realizations today were superb, and it was really amazing and brought back so many memories to hear you again like this. Yeah. So there are no more questions that I can see in the chat or any hands raised. So Maharaj, we can conclude now if you'd like, or
all right, then I suggest that we end with offering Vaishnava Pranam.
yes.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, who can fulfill the desires of every and are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Mati Radharani Ki Jai.
Giriraja Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.